am the chair of the IGDA SIG. And what is that? That's just a community of independent developers. And the whole thing is sponsored by an organization called the IGDA, which is the International Game Developers Association. You don't have to be a member of that association to participate, but of course we encourage everybody to check it out. Tony, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I am an indie developer. I run a studio called Pixel Crushers that focuses on making tools for game developers. I also help organize the Baltimore Indie Game Devs community. We're a community of about 2,000 people in the mid-Atlantic of the USA, and um, I'm trying to help out here in the Indie SIG. We're just getting this SIG off the ground again after a long quiet time, and we hope to grow it and really make it useful to indie devs all around the world.
Cool. Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm a bit of an indie dev student hybrid. I have a large art background, and then also now I'm learned the dark arts of programming through blueprints and trying to then learn scripting. So, yeah.
Awesome. So programming is the dark art.
Well, it lets me kind of do whatever I want. Unfortunately, it's just the only boundary is my ability to execute. So,
Well, hey, join the club, right? We're all at a different level on that journey. I have been a programmer all my life, but if you were to look at my art, you'd know it was created by a programmer. So we want to be able to cater to both to all aspects of game development, and of course, I think when most people think of it, it's almost obvious that there are two huge categories that falls into. One is the coding and one is the art. Isn't it interesting now that we've gone? I feel like we're going full cycle from the 90s, where it was a team of one or two people that created a great game, and then give it anywhere after the year 2000 up to just a few years ago, it started evolving into bigger teams and big budgets. And suddenly, over the last few years, it's been the indie teams, the smaller teams now, that are actually making an impact. What do you guys think of that?
that's definitely something I've noticed. Part of why I'm pushing to learn more things is so I can make games that don't explode before release or on release. So,
Explode as in fail?
fail or like the entire studio has to shut down, and then
Ah,
yeah,
very good.
like trying to avoid that fate, or avoid the fate where a project has run its course for too long, but then people are overcommitted to it. Um, yeah.
Yeah, that runs directly into my answer to the monthly question, which is I want to get better at finishing games faster, keeping the scope small, and getting games done in a matter of like 6 months, not 3 years like the last project that I was on.
I love it. I love it. I've been on both sides of the spectrum there. But I can tell you straight out, the first I run my own studio now, called Synaptics Games. But the first studio I ever went to work for, way back in 2008, was called Mumbo Jumbo. What a great name! And welcome, Brian. Uh, uh, I'm glad to see you here. We're just having a chat here. I'll let you introduce yourself in just a minute. Anyway, that project, I was on it for a year, got the project shipped, which if you've ever heard of Luxor, it was Luxor. the fourth iteration of that program. And then exactly what should happen, the whole studio shut down and got laid off after that project. It started that it was just going to be the Luxor team, and then it turned out being that everybody got laid off. So I go to work for another studio, this time a studio called Other Ocean, and it was in Canada. Again, worked really hard on a project for about a year. As soon as that project was done, I got laid off. So I really am in close in heart to that, to people who that happens to over and over again. In fact, it's part of the reason I started my own company, because I figured, well, I'm not going to fire myself, but that sets up a whole other set of difficulties. But I think that's great. I think we're all impassioned to try to shorten that life cycle and to make it more manageable. Now, we just had Brian join us. So, Brian, I'm going to actually invite you to speak if you would like to and introduce yourself.
Hello. Yeah, this is my first time joining one of these. I just
Hey,
I saw a notification on my phone and actually just hit the button to see what it was, and it popped in here. But hello. Um, I am a co-owner of a small studio called SpryQuest. We released a mobile game a couple years ago, and now I'm in school full time. Well, now part time, but about to finish up my degree. I'm trying to increase my technical skills because our studio actually ended up losing our technical guy. So I'm trying to fill those shoes now. Um, yeah, I don't know what else to say, but that's where I'm from.
well, that's a great start. Thanks so much. Just before you joined us, that's exactly where we were at. We've got uh, well, just real quick, we got Tony and I, who both run indie studios with different focuses. Lucid Sky, I didn't catch your first name.
Oh, that's
Pardon it?
Zane
Go
Sky,
ahead.
but yeah, Zane
What's
Sky.
that
I
again?
can't change my name in the server, so
Yeah.
because you get the online name.
Oh, that's cool. And he was just describing a situation similar to yours, where he is an artist who's now trying to learn some coding. Did I capture that correctly?
Yeah, more or less.
I think we're all in a state where, as indie developers, we wear a lot of different hats, right?
Hmm. Yeah, exactly.
So um, Tony was just sharing, and the main topic, by the way, of today's discussion, but it's an open policy of talking about everything, but we do want to mention that we're asking ourselves the question, what areas of game development do you want to improve in? That's the question of the day. And Tony had said his focus this year is going to be on coming up with a shorter development cycle, something more in the terms of months instead of years. Can either of you guys relate to that?
Yeah, I used to work on a pretty decently scoped out what would you call it, Kickstarter project. So I have all the scars of big scope. So I'm trying to find a way to make games smaller and then also make them on a much smaller team. Thus the
Wonderful.
learning, the exploration into scripting and programming.
Awesome. And how about you, Brian?
Yeah, I think for me, it's definitely more technical that I want to improve in. My program is computer science, and it was a 2-year program because I wanted to try to get some foundational knowledge and just jump right in. Um, so that's kind of where I'm at.
Wonderful.
I've done the game design stuff. I come from a QA background.
Okay.
I've done a lot of QA. So I've seen like the full software development cycle pipeline. And it's just a matter of learning the foundation, the fundamentals of good programming practices that I wanted to kind of lay that baseline for jumping forward from here for us.
Right. So by us, do you still have a small team?
Yeah, it's actually just me and my partner.
That's perfect, though. Yeah, don't. Uh, well, I think we all do that, right? We all kind of like, well, yeah, we're kind of like get a little bit shy because we don't have a good team or something. I don't have a good team. Myself and my son are the team right now. Well, we actually have
Oh, that's
another
cool.
guy, but I think that's part of what we're talking about now, right? Is becoming agile. That's a big buzzword, but small and flexible, and that way we don't have to support some big a team of developers who we know we're not going to be able to hold on to when the project is done. And so that's a big question there. Maybe a whole topic on its own is how do you scope a project so that it can be flexible like that, and yet at the end of the day, um, understanding that someday that project's going to wrap up, and then where do we go?
Yeah, that's actually an interesting point. Oh, sorry. Were you trying to say something?
I was just going to say that scope and team size are so closely interrelated. If you have ultimately, you're going to need to pay what amounts to salaries. So if you have a team of 4, you might think, well, I can make a game twice as fast, but you're going to have to pay 4 times as much salary. So the smaller you can keep your team, not only the more agile as far as being able to change direction, but the lower your bar for what counts as success. If you only need to pay 1 or 2 people's salary for the duration of the project, it's a lot easier to make your money back than if you're paying a team of 10.
Exactly. By the way, we've had 2 other people join the discussion. Michael, welcome, and Joe Fox. I just wanted Joe Fox to know that you're welcome to talk, to share, to introduce yourself. In other words, if you want to. The way a stage works is you have a limit of 5 people talking at one time. So if you'd like to introduce yourself, Joe Fox, go for it. And if not, that's great. Also, of course, keep in mind you have the chat window you can open up, and we can just you can also share that way. Michael, you're also welcome to join in and talk. So smaller. So we're talking about goals for this year, and so far what I've heard from Tony is smaller development cycles, shorter is a better word, shorter development cycles. And from 2 of our other members, I've heard your goals are to learn more about the technical side of things. So part of any good goal then is to make it real by coming up with a plan of attack of how you're going to do this. So so that would be my next question is what do you think, Tony, is going to be your first step in trying to accomplish this?
Deadlines. So I have submitted a prototype that I am working on to an indie game showcase that is happening in June. So I need to get the current project that I'm working on done in June.
Okay.
It's as simple as that. Deadlines make things happen.
You are so right on that. So June, where are we? What? April, May, June. June, is it the 1st of June or the last of June?
It's the 6th of June. If anyone
Wow.
is in Maryland or Pennsylvania or Virginia, anywhere in the Mid Atlantic, the event is called Indie Game Fest, and I will drop information in the chat for that.
Awesome. Okay. Well, you are so right. Deadlines. I'm horrible at getting anything done unless I have to. And so you're right. Deadlines is one of the best ways to make that happen. It's really hard for me personally, anyway. It, to find a way to set a deadline that I personally take seriously. In other words, I might say, okay, well, my goal is to get this done in 3 months. But unless there's some external factor making sure that that happens, it's really, I'm admitting it's really hard for me to stay firm on that.
Robert, if I can jump in here real quick. Joe Fox, this is a monthly meetup. We are recording. If anyone would not like to be recorded, let me know, and we won't post this. Otherwise, we'll post it for members who aren't able to attend in person so that they can watch it and pick up some notes and tips on YouTube.
Thank you. Thank you so
Something
much, Tony. Go ahead.
interesting
Michael?
on the note of having the deadline be in the physical realm instead of like, oh, by next month you'll get X and Y done. Having a physical like deadline and event to then attend and bring it to is actually very helpful. I found even on both for solo but also for like teams. Like it motivates everybody to like go towards this one like actual tangible goal. Plus, in the world of game dev, going to a physical thing means you get actual real people feedback, which is very important.
Absolutely. In fact, along those lines, because the back half of that question is, how can this SIG, this community, help you, help us reach our goals? And okay, I'm just reading what was just posted. Oh yeah, no problem, Joe. That's no problem. Thank you for participating, and yeah, feel free to jump in. Uh, yeah, if there was something you wanted to say, I'm sure that Tony could even pause the recording while you say that. So we'll work it out. He can edit it out in the post production. So thank you. Anyway, sorry. I was thinking of an idea like having it if we had a channel in. Well, we do have lots of channels, and we have to be careful that we keep them focused. But one idea I'm thinking of is accountability. Uh, Makes a big difference. Now, my example is, and I'll try to keep it short, with weight loss. And this is something I've been working on. Um, and part of my strategy for doing that is to post onto Facebook, here is where I'm at, and here is where I want to get to. And I know this is going out to my friends and family, and my enemies probably. And that means I have a little bit more accountability now to personally, where I'm going to think, if I mess this up, well, I'm going to have to admit it, and to the same friends and families. And again, not like they're going to come after me or anything, but it's just that little nudge. And so back to my ideas, maybe something in our community where we can all announce as a follow-up to this discussion what our goals are to each other. And then a kind of follow-up for the next month, we all get on and share, hey, here's where I'm at. Because then it's a little bit more personally involved in meeting that goal and getting the satisfaction of being able to share with a bunch of people that I was able to do that. Anyway, I'm just throwing that out.
I actually run a group that does that lately.
Oh, really?
Yep.
How did that go?
It's still going. Like, we've been doing it for about 10 months now.
I mean, how did you structure it?
kind of like this.
Okay.
Discord. Yeah. Yeah.
So did you guys?
It's in my Discord server, basically.
Have you, if you have any thoughts about maybe one thing that worked really well that you did in that, and one thing that maybe did not work so well, and perhaps you've dropped at this point?
Well, I would say, like, I think the part that worked well is that people are still coming after 10 months. We have missed some deadlines that we wanted to, but it was more so kind of stuff out of our control, like people getting sick or something like that. Not
Okay.
we can do about that. But I would say it has helped in like everyone kind of keeping up with each other's projects, and like when people need additional feedback, they feel comfortable with the group, that sort of thing.
Great. Well, I think that's a good item for us to discuss offline, Tony, and see how we might want to implement something like that. How about you, Brian? What do you think your first step is to get this goal accomplished?
Well, I've already taken the first step. I mean, I'm in school right now, and I'm getting pretty close to the done with the program. But after that, and actually right now, my immediate goal is to actually similar to I think it was Tony that mentioned having an expo that you're going to demo at, and I have a similar goal also in June that I'm shooting for. Um, so that the accountability thing is real.
Oh, good. That's good feedback. Because sometimes it's like, oh, another one of those wishful thoughts that doesn't work. Okay, so uh, let's see. Lucid Sky, what are you going to do to take that first step?
Personally, currently I'm in school, so finish that up. We have like a big project that's our final project. And then after that, I am aiming to release a small, more arcadey style game, hopefully within a year of starting it. Hopefully shorter than that, but if it passes a year, I'll probably be like, okay, send it, be done with it, move on to the next thing.
Okay, fantastic. Michael, I know you've got, like you said, how many irons in the fire? How can you give us some insight? How do you manage that?
Well, something I've been doing lately is actually AI driven. I I don't remember exactly where I came upon it. I think it was like a random post on Twitter or something. But somebody said that they were optimizing their calendar using AI, so I tried it. And it's interesting because it will suggest things like how often do you want to state the structure and things like that, but it has been useful in kind of keeping track of how long I'm spending on certain projects and adjusting like if I need more or less time on certain projects, things like that.
Okay, so
Because
and how
I'll
long
give
when did you start doing this, and how useful do you think it's been?
about a month ago.
Mhm.
I do think it's useful. I I would say what's the word? Uh, I've found it to like I basically fed in like the list of projects and then it kind of created space for things like it suggested like having planning spaces and social spaces and things like that as well. So in that way, like it kind of helped my schedule breathe a bit.
Okay.
I feel more intentional about scheduling now.
I just discovered, and everybody's on a different path of their AI journey. Um,
Yeah.
but so coming back from GDC, this happens to be every year. I'm just overwhelmed with information. I've picked up brochures, I've typed notes, the whole 9 yards, classes that I attended. And so I was talking to, I use Microsoft Copilot because I use Microsoft Tools, so it comes for that for free. And found out I can basically scan all of my documents in, which I love to do anyway, because I hate paper. And then I can and I can set up a routine that says basically, hey, go through all these PDFs and organize them for me. And so I haven't actually done it yet because I really just started having this thought last week. So maybe I'll put that as one of my goals is to get my GDC stuff organized, and I'll let you guys know how that went. But the idea is to organize all of this information in a usable way. And for me, what's important is that it's usable, indexed, and searchable. Because later on, 6 months from now, if I need to find that company that does such and such, I want to do that without having to physically browse through 100 PDFs.
Yeah, it's
So
also
again,
interesting because if you put a PDF in the Copilot, it will ask you if you want to study it.
uh-huh.
That's a pretty useful thing to do, I've found.
Right. So in a world where we're all concerned, and I understand that AI is going to, put people out of work or anything or whatever. Here's a useful way, I think that a very unthreatening way that we can use AI as a tool without worrying about that world of is that going to hurt somebody else. I
Um,
guarantee you there's no universe where I would hire somebody to do this.
yeah,
So,
also, I'll say, like, I am kind of, one of my tasks, per se, is I'm, learning how to set up a local AI agent, so if anybody is interested in that, feel free to message me. I
cool.
may blog about it or something, I don't know yet.
Well, and also in the uh, one of our goals as a uh, community here is to allow members of the community to present their ideas in another uh, forum similar to this. So, Michael, think about that, whether you would like to set up a time and share that with the rest of the community.
Yeah, probably need a couple weeks because I'm learning things, but yeah.
Of
Um,
course.
yeah, basically what I'll say is I've got 2 out of the 20 that are kind of like me projects per se. A lot of the other stuff I do is collaborative. Like I've built 2 things that I feel like are kind of portfolio pieces that show off what I can do. So hopefully I can kind of turn them into things I can uh make into like uh repeatables. But I've been working on a AI-driven music video creation. I'm also working on engine, um, and basically, like my initial prototype, fully working multiplayer game, took about a week. I was
Awesome.
I was surprised, but it is pretty cool.
I love it. I love it. Hey, now we have Joe Fox. Hope you don't mind me using that as your acronym here or your handle. He's asking some questions about documentation, and I don't think we can answer all of your questions here. But again, it sounds like we can basically infer from that, Joe, that one of your goals is to be able to accomplish. You've been talking about documentation. You've been talking about DevOps. Um, so So what, Tony? You've been engaging with Joe Fox in the conversation. Do you have any tips for him other than what you've already typed in there?
For those who, for whatever reason in the recording, aren't able to read the text, I did recommend for DevOps for game engines. Unity has Unity Build Automation, which has a fairly generous free tier. There are other integrations with GitHub and GitLab, and I pointed to Game CI, which is basically a setup website for how to set up DevOps for various game engines. So that's all really useful when you're trying to set up or learn or need a refresher on DevOps. And then we had a quick chat about Notion, which is a cloud-based documentation management system. It may or may not integrate with Google. I don't recall. You can download the entire database if you need to bring it into another format. But for my uses, I've just kept all of my content within Notion, and I found it's a good way to collect images, tables, databases, spreadsheets, all kinds of wiki information and everything that you can link. And it also has a pretty decent Kanban board, so you can do your project management in there too. I like a system where everything is all in one so that you don't have to go to a million different apps to just get something done during the day.
Absolutely. In fact, uh, I think that the topic of setting goals always probably involves or even starts with how do we take this cloud of things that are available to us and break it down to something manageable. So we were talking, by the way, welcome, Carlos. We were talking about last month, and in fact, our roundtable was about tools and what tools are useful. And unfortunately, one of the things you come away with whenever you discuss this is there's a whole cloud of tools, pun intended, that you can use, and in the same way, even when it comes to deciding which engine I'm going to use to make my game in. I noticed that Joe Fox, you mentioned you're learning Unity, Unreal, a little bit of Godot. And I'm the kind of person, I want to know everything. I want to learn all three of those engines. But you know what? Realistically, if I'm going to meet my goals, I can't learn all three engines. So I think part of the start of setting some goals for ourselves is intentionally focusing. I'm going to intentionally say to myself, for example, I'm going to use Unity. Why? Not because it's necessarily better, but that's where all of my skill, 80%, I would say over the last 10 years of my skill, not all of it, but it's been in Unity. So I'm going to make a logical choice to say, I'll pick Unity because that's got the lowest hill, the lowest learning curve. It might be wise for every one of us to do that when we're thinking about the tools that we're going to use. Um, and if Notion is the one that you found works for you, then my first suggestion would probably be then use it. Now the question will become things like what Joe Fox was asking. Well, what if I need to get stuff out of Notion, or what if I need to migrate that into a corporate environment? And those are good questions. Now, the simple answer I found, which is ridiculously easy, is to go into Copilot or ChatGPT and literally say, here's what I've got in Notion. What types of restrictions will I have if I want to transition this to a corporate environment? And it's going to give you lots of relevant answers to that. Or
Like,
what ways can I integrate Notion with Google? It'll spit it out and tell you right there. Somebody was going to say something.
it's also, like, basically I'm kind of going to the next step, which is the quote-unquote agentic workflow that everybody's kind of been talking about in presentations and such, but basically at the root of it, the agentic workflow just means automating steps of taking stuff from one program into another. Zapier and things like that have done it for quite a while. The agentic stuff just makes it a little bit simpler to set those up because you're using a natural language prompt rather than messing with stuff.
Exactly, right.
And I would also say, just as an example, I've been working on putting together music videos and, basically used AI to figure out what tools I was going to use to do it. So I ended up using, uh, Google Drive, Suno, and DaVinci Resolve.
I'm going to drop off of the stage in case Carlos wants to hop on the stage and introduce himself and answer the monthly question.
Thank you, Tony. Carlos, I'm going to basically make it so that you can join the discussion by voice if you want to. So, Carlos, I just want to mention, I'd love for you to introduce yourself. I met you at GDC. Carlos has been involved in the SIG, which is, I love your input and all of you. That makes our community what it is. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Carlos. And the discussion of the day is, what do you want to accomplish? And how can we as a community in the SIG help you do that?
We are recording, just to let you know.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Hi, Carlos Ortiz. I'm a software engineer by trade, game developer by passion, I suppose. I work with my indie studio, Towering Stairway. We're working on our first commercial title. I'm here to learn more generally about the indie community as a whole and how we as indie developers can support each other and create better indie development communities. One of my big passions is community building, and that's something that I really want to do here in my hometown that really doesn't have a community of indie developers. So, I've kind of taken it upon myself, so to speak, to try to help facilitate that and grow that. So that's certainly one thing that I'm really interested in learning from other community builders is, how do we better build community? How do we bring people in who are interested in game development and want to learn about game development and basically facilitate their growth so that I can have, it's kind of selfish of a goal. I want more game developer friends to talk about game development with. So I'm trying to kind of foster that here. So.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
So give me that as a goal, Carl. What's your first step and an approximate time frame?
My goal is to essentially, my goal is to start an IGDA chapter in my hometown. So there is not one here. There is one in Orlando. I'm from Tampa, Florida. There's one in Orlando. There is also one in Miami, but there's not one in Tampa. And I think that's a darn shame because we are a big tech hub.
Mm-hmm.
And there's certainly a lot of potential for game development here. We're within a stone's throw of EA, so we're no different from Miami or Orlando in that regard. So that's my number one goal, and my timeline is really it's to do it by the end of the year. Mm-hmm. I think ideally, but and I'm already making some moves in that regard, setting up some mixers and things like that. But if I had to put a stake in the ground and say what is my goal, that's definitely it.
That's brilliant. Okay, I love it.
One comment I would also say is, based on like 20 years of kind of seeing industry cycles, is do what you can to encourage schools and colleges to set up like local pipelines of like if they have a game dev and a esports club, make sure the two are connected. We have a culture of way too much hub cities and moving people around all the time, which is unsustainable as housing prices and things like that go up.
Right,
So,
right.
you know, advocate for things that reinforce locality. And I
Excellent.
can hop off since, oh, nope, well, oh, we have 6 here now. I guess it looks.
Did I cause a problem? Did I drop anyone off?
Nope, it actually let 6 in.
Yeah, I thought it was only 5, but I figured
Hey.
I'd give it a try because I wanted to.
Wow.
Yeah, I wanted to add a couple
I was
suggestions
about to
there.
drop off in case.
Michael, were you finished with your tips? I didn't want to interrupt.
Yeah, the locality thing, it's just something I've been thinking about a lot because, like, we still kind of keep seeing the debate over hub cities, but we also see so many people, like, move to a hub city and then get fired almost immediately, so it's like, ugh.
So hub cities are almost becoming an obsolete concept, honestly. But I don't want to. What do you want to say, Tony?
Carlos, if you haven't already used meetup.com, or if you're not seeing the kind of pickup that you want for the mixers, I do recommend using Meetup. You'd be surprised. I'm sure there are a lot of indie devs who, like you, just aren't aware of other indie devs in the Tampa area. And I found that out with the Baltimore, Maryland area, where really getting things going on Meetup managed to find a huge number of indie devs that I had no idea were there. And then from there, once you have a group, you can talk about like, hey, let's become part of an IGDA chapter, get some official support from the IGDA, maybe some funds from IGDA dues to help run your events, and definitely also coordinate with the Indie SIG here. Part of this meetup is to talk about how the Indie SIG specifically can help with all of these goals, and that's something that I think we could address a little more in this meetup.
I agree, and we will. Let's see what are we doing as far as time. Yeah, in fact, it's last 5 minutes. I think we need to focus on that. I also want to say, Carl, two things. First of all, if community building is your heart, I will take a part of your heart, and we would love, if that's something that you're interested in, to utilize your skills in building this community. Okay. Secondly, you've got 2 people right here, myself and Tony, who have direct connections with the IGDA and can certainly help support you, therefore, with ideas, and Tony even more than I, and point you to the right person to talk to. Right, Tony? Yeah. So and of course not do the work for you, but just help you. Here's who you need to contact. And I think that's an awesome goal. I've thought of the same thing. I live in a small town. I call it a small city called Grand Junction, Colorado. We're 400 miles away from Denver, 400 miles away from Salt Lake City, nothing in between. We have no IGDA chapter here. And so, yeah, I've often thought, wow, maybe I'll start a chapter here. And I think, Tony, that meetup is a great tool. Absolutely. So I think and it's also a perfect example of what we're talking about today. You got a goal, and your goal, Carlos, is to start an IGDA chapter in 1 year. But there's so many smaller things you have to do to get there. And here you go. Check mark number 1, then. The first step in that goal might be create a meetup account and give yourself a week to do that. I'm just, throwing up suggestions, right? And then, check back with yourself in a week. Did you do that? You're saying, really? Give yourself a week to set up a meetup account? There's so many things going on in your life. You got to be realistic. So give yourself a realistic time frame. Make that a goal. So you're going to have lots of smaller goals, and I really encourage everyone to write these things down. It's in part of every goal setting course you'll ever take. Write it down. I use Microsoft To Do. It's a wonderful free program for making lists and sub lists. There's whatever works for you. Create every thought you have and write it down, and organize it. So you're going to have to set up that meetup account supposedly, and then your next step might be get in touch with Tony and see who I need to talk to at the IGDA, and on the list will go. So that's something I just want to throw out there for every one of us.
I just put something in chat as well.
All right. Yeah. Now, by the way, on a technical point, Tony, you had mentioned that the chat won't show up on the video, but we can append it to the channel that we have posted the video in.
Oh, I was just saying that some people might not read the chat for whatever reason, but it will show up in the video.
Right. Okay. Oh, okay, great. I wasn't sure what you meant by that technically. So we have 5 more minutes, and not that we have to, adhere. If you need more than 5 minutes, you can hang around. But for the group, so the question then is, how can the SIG support you in achieving these goals? And there's a couple of things that have come up that I really think are relevant. Number one, my vision is that this community, we learn the skill or the it's a paradigm shift, that instead of spending all of our time focusing on our little world, which is I don't mean to say it that way, our world, which is huge and absorbs all of our time. But if we then each took 5% of our time and spent that helping each other, that's in my opinion, the best way that a community of indie developers can help each other. Because if we just talk to each other, there's a phrase, preaching to the choir, right? The choir already knows the story. As indie devs, we all know what we're personally working on. But I would like to breed the idea of making a bigger picture than that, using this community to help, so that we can each take what we're getting. Like if somebody in this community releases a game, that each of us would then take it upon ourselves to spread that knowledge throughout our social networks and so forth. So this becomes a hub that shares, not just a hub that receives. Okay, so
relevant GIF posted.
Huh?
Relevant GIF posted.
I love it. I am fucked. Okay. Anyway,
the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
I love it. I love it. How can we help?
I am definitely happy to help repost anything. I also think that if we do build this hub, it would be good to find somebody or somebodies who know content creators or do outreach to content creators so that they know that they could come look here for games to play.
Yeah, because our individual reach is kind of small, but there are a few things that I'd like to see the Indie SIG do, including regular showcases posted on YouTube where we make a video of upcoming games or released games by Indie SIG members, and get that onto YouTube so that gamers can see it, because it's really more important that gamers find out about the games than just us fellow devs. And also seeing if we can do some kind of Steam bundle sales or Steam IGDA Indie SIG themed sales to just help promote each other's games.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I am actually gonna be working on its bundle of my own here soon. So if anybody has stuff, basically what I'm doing is kind of a like dev bundle, but you know, I am doing it partially because I need to raise some funds, but basically, like, once I hit my goal, like, I'd be open to split anything past that.
Thank you.
So, like, I'm collaborating with a friend who does some Godot plugin work, so he's gonna probably put a few things in. So, who would be interested, that's something I'm working on.
I love it. Any other thoughts? Well, technically we're one minute over. I do want to mention that there's a follow-up channel for this chat. It is so each month we have a chat where we present a topic like this, and then there's a channel indie topic of the month that we use as a follow-up. So I'll just should be able to just put a link to that right here in the topic of the month. So I encourage everyone to go there and share, number one, maybe the things you learned or more things that you want to learn about this topic. And number two, I think that'd be a great place for each one of us to go and use it as a starter. Or I'm going to go there myself and I'm going to say, here are my goals, or one goal, or whatever it is. I'm going to post that there in that channel for the world to see, and encourage all of you to do the same. So maybe that'll be our first little way of sharing our goals with the world, and then coming back and checking on them to see how we're all doing. And maybe we'll formalize that thing in the future. But for now, that's where we can start. Sound good? Thank you all so much for joining us today. Keep your eye on the Discord channel. We're trying to do new things. We've got some things lined up for special guests to come in and do some presentations for us. So yeah, keep your eye on the event calendar and keep active. Stay in the channel and tell us what makes being an indie game developer so amazing. Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody.